Good morning, River Life Church. My name is Pang. It's good to be with you all. I am our family ministry director. I'm also married to Pastor Moua, who is at the Brooklyn Park campus. Thank you for having me here with you all today. Well, we are deep into our relationship series titled Married Friends. This title makes me smile because I literally married my friend Kong. We met in 8th grade right here at the St. Paul campus. We were friends for 7 years, dated for about 2 years. Then we got married, and we celebrate 16 years of marriage this May. I won't take you all the way back to when we first met, but I will take you back to January 1st. It was the start of 2024. Kong and I had a late night on New Year's Eve and a really long day of running errands and having fun on New Year's Day. Late into the afternoon, I had missed some important details, and it led to lots of detours and delays. It started to feel chaotic, and I could tell that our patience was wearing thin. Eventually, we made our way home, and I felt an overwhelming sense of disappointment from Kong and dissatisfaction in me. When we pulled up to the driveway, I informed Kong, "I'm going out for a drive." His response, "Knock yourself out." I drove off with 1% left on my phone and no charger. Good. I don't want to be reached anyways. So immature. I didn't know how long the drive would be, but I didn't care. My thoughts were, you can't be upset with me because I'm upset with you. So manipulative. 4 hours later, I returned home with a dead phone and a heart made of stone. I knew I had to face Kong. But it didn't matter what he was doing or how he was feeling. When I reached the living room, "Hey," was all that I said, as though nothing happened. I walked away, and Kong quietly approached me. Can you guess what his first words were? What would you have said? "Where have you been?" Anger. "Did you knock yourself out?" Sarcasm. "You ignored my call?" Criticism. Kong's first words were, "I must have hurted you really bad to make you do something like this." Those were wise words coming from a wounded and worried husband. Kong's first words that night was a bid to turn towards me instead of away. That's the wisdom we're going to explore today. Turning toward each other instead of away. Dr. John Gottman's third principle of making marriage work focus on all the mini moments in our day that has the potential to help us turn toward or away from connection. Gottman believes that each time we turn toward each other, it is a bid for attention, affection, humor, or support. And all of this cultivates romance. Gottman believes that romance is not dependent on a 2-week getaway to the Bahamas, although that does sound amazing. Actually, as funny as it sounds, romance can be strengthened in the grocery store. When your partner asks, "Are we out of eggs?" And you answer, "I don't know. Let me go get some just in case." Instead of shrugging it off like, who cares? In these mundane moments, you can respond to your partner's bid for attention by turning toward them or away. And a tendency to turn toward your partner is at the core of building trust, passion, and connection. Here's what Gottman says about it. Each time partners turn toward each other, they are funding what I've come to call their emotional bank account. They are building up savings that, like money in the bank, can serve as a cushion when times get rough, when they are faced with a major life stress or conflict. This quote helps us understand the significance of deposits in our relationships. More specifically, bids are verbal and nonverbal gestures people offer for positive connection. When you respond to bids by turning toward each other, you nurture trust and romance in your marriage. These bids often can make a big difference. So, is your marriage primed for romance? To get a sense of how your relationship is doing with turning toward one another, I'm going to have you answer the following true-false questions. The first one, we enjoy doing small things together, like folding laundry or watching TV. 2, I look forward to spending my free time with my partner. 3, my partner is usually interested in hearing my views. 4, even though our interests are somewhat different, I enjoy my partner's interests. How did you do? Is turning toward an area of strength? Or does your relationship need some improvement? If you enjoyed this insight, on the back of your bulletin, we have a full list that you can read and respond true or false. You can even score yourself if you want to. Gottman says that the masters of marriage, happily married couples, turn toward each other 86% of the time. Meanwhile, the disasters of marriage, couples who have broken up or are unhappy, only turn toward each other 33% of the time. So why is this principle of turning toward one another so important? Well, because the reality of life is that conflict and stress will arise. And when they do, we need wisdom to turn toward our partner. We need wisdom to sustain our relationships. What does the Bible say about wisdom? The wisdom of turning towards instead of away. There's so much. And the Bible is quite clear about it. Before diving into our passage, I'd like to help you better understand our reading. Here's a brief video about the book of Proverbs.
There are 3 books in the Bible that have come to be called the wisdom literature: Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Job.
And all of these books are addressing the same set of questions. What kind of world are we living in? And what does it look like to live well in this world?
So, how to be good at life.
Yeah. So each of these books tackles these questions from a unique perspective, and it's important to understand all of them to get a fully biblical perspective on the good life. So as a thought experiment, you could actually imagine each of these books as a person. So Proverbs would be like this brilliant young teacher, and Ecclesiastes the sharp, middle-aged critic, and Job would be this weathered old man who's seen a lot in his day.
We're going to start by meeting the book of Proverbs. The the brilliant young teacher. And she's not just smart, she's smart about everything: work, relationships, sex, spirituality. She has incredible insights, things you wouldn't see on your own.
Yeah, she would be the perfect friend to have around when you need really specific advice.
So what makes her so smart?
Well, Proverbs can see things that most people don't see. She believes that there's an invisible creative force in the universe that can guide people in how they should live. And you can't see it, just like you can't see gravity, but it affects everything that we do.
So what's this force?
Well, in Hebrew, it's called chokhmah, and it usually gets translated into English as wisdom. It's an attribute of God that God used to create the world. And chokhmah has been woven into the fabric of things and how they work. So wherever people are making good or just or wise decisions, they're tapping into chokhmah.
And whenever someone's making a bad decision, they're working against chokhmah.
Right, or as it says in Proverbs chapter 1, the waywardness of fools will destroy them, but the one who listens to wisdom lives in security.
So it's like a moral law of the universe.
Yeah, it's a cause-effect pattern, and no one can escape it. And Proverbs personifies all of this as a woman.
Yeah, Lady Wisdom.
Right, and she roams around the earth, calling out, making herself available to anyone who's willing to listen to her and to learn. Which leads to the second thing Proverbs believes, that anyone can access and interact with wisdom and use it to make a beautiful life for yourself or for others.
You can create with it like a designer.
Yes, in fact, chokhmah in Hebrew isn't simply intellectual knowledge. The word is also used to describe a skilled artisan who excels at their craft, like woodworking or stonemasonry. So you show you possess chokhmah when you put it to work and develop the skill of making a good life.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's do this. Let's go find some wisdom.
But before you do, Proverbs has one more really important thing to consider. Chokhmah isn't some impersonal force. It's an attribute of God himself. And so in Hebrew thought, your journey to becoming wise has to begin with what Proverbs calls the fear of the Lord. It's this healthy respect for God's definition of good and evil. And true wisdom means learning those boundary lines and not crossing them.
Now, all those ideas you just unpacked are in chapters 1 through 9 in Proverbs. But when I think of the book of Proverbs, I think of the collection of sayings, the Proverbs themselves. Tell me about those.
Yeah, those are what you find in chapters 10 on to the end of the book. It's a collection of hundreds and hundreds of proverbs about any and all aspects of life. And chokhmah gets applied to them, resulting in this wise guidance to help you find a path towards success, and no matter what you do.
If I design my life with these sayings, life is going to be good.
Yeah, or as Proverbs puts it, it'll give health to your bones, prosperity, a long, rich life.
Which is a really big claim.
But you can see how it's often the case. Wise people, they tend to do better. Things usually work out well for them in life. And so that is the promise and the wisdom of the book of Proverbs.
Okay, now you have a good sense of the book of Proverbs. Let's read the passage again together, and this time pay attention to the virtues and vices as we read. Proverbs 15, verse 1. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. The tongue of the wise adorns knowledge, but the mouth of the fool gushes folly. The eyes of the Lord are everywhere, keeping watch on the wicked and the good. The soothing tongue is a tree of life, but a perverse tongue crushes the spirit. A fool spurns a parent's discipline, but whoever heeds correction shows prudence. The house of the righteous contains great treasure, but the income of the wicked brings ruin. The lips of the wise spread knowledge, but the hearts of fools are not upright. The Lord detests the sacrifice of the wicked, but the prayer of the upright pleases him. The Lord detests the way of the wicked, but he loves those who pursue righteousness. In this particular passage, the virtues are wise and righteous. And these virtues are invitations from the Holy Spirit. This wisdom is divine and feels life-giving, refreshing, and fulfilling. In contrast, the vices in this passage are fool and wickedness. These vices are the ones we are being warned against. This way of life leads to defeat and foolishness. Self-wisdom feels draining, exhausting, and incomplete. Some define wisdom as skillful decisions a person makes in interactions with people. Others define wisdom as choices a person makes for the greater good. At its core, wisdom factors the well-being of relationship and humanity. So here's the million-dollar question. How do we obtain wisdom? Is there hope for you? Is there hope for me? Specifically, is there hope for Kong? Yes, there is. Proverbs 1:7 says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge." The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. But fools despise wisdom and instruction. Wisdom starts with God. The first step towards wisdom is actually bowing down to God and acknowledging God's divine wisdom. The truth is, self-wisdom is no wisdom at all. And if it sounds clever, the credit belongs to God, because wisdom is the attribute of God. And like any relationship, the only way to understand someone's attributes is to spend time with them, to turn towards them. Thankfully, by the grace of God, anyone can interact with divine wisdom. Anyone can put it to work and develop it. And when an individual exercises good decisions from the Holy Spirit, they will encounter God and experience order, beauty, and justice. However, if an individual depends on their own wisdom, they become self-focused and in turn develop self-centered thoughts. They will encounter chaos, foolishness, and wickedness. Wisdom is interpersonal. It is not just advice you take. Wisdom is the character of God. Wisdom is God. And like any relationship, to learn God's attributes, you have to turn toward God. Stand in awe and amazement, wonder and reverence of God. Jerry Vine writes, "Spiritual life is not just lived in times of silent meditation or deep thought about our eternal destiny. It is lived out in daily tasks here on earth. Physical life and the tasks involved therein matter." We can live with divine wisdom or self-wisdom. We can live with God's understanding or our own. Since January 1st, I have asked Kong a couple times now, "How did you decide what to say to me that night?" His answer, "It was the only response that would work." Kong's wisdom was a bid to turn towards God and me instead of away. What does this mean for you? How can you choose divine wisdom and turn toward your partner instead of away? I have some concrete action items, and my hope is that it will strengthen your relationships. Here's 3 of them. Show genuine interest and stay focused on your partner. Don't let your eyes or your mind wander. Ask questions, nod, say, oh, really? Another option, thank your partner for moments when they turn toward you. It's important to express your appreciation for the little and big things. And the last option, identify one obstacle that hinders you from turning toward your partner. Don't mask your bid of connection with criticism. Where do you deposit your time and your affection? Identify one and commit to just one action item today. A battle is raging in our lives for our focus and for our hearts. Will we live for God or for ourselves? Will we turn toward our partner or away? The Holy Spirit invites us to learn how to live in a way that pleases God. And in the process, we will discover that living according to God's wisdom will lead us to a healthier life and relationships. God be with you.